RRQ will be headed into the blue side, while Evos
Your
SG on the red.
banned.
Now, it's Masha being banned away by RRQ instead.
Yeah, I think RRQ definitely see the power of the Masha.
team
Don't
is
want to
banned.
deal with it because again, it pries your team a little bit too hard. Does a really good job at split pushing compared to like something like a Hayabusa. But Grok going to be banned out for the side of Evos Esports. Overall, just a great hero.
Oh, yes, indeed. And no matter how many nerfs and hits he takes, Grok is still one solid rock that cannot be moved away from the meta. And now, heading in towards the final two bans here, I would still say that there's going to be a little bit more on that priority on those tanks. And I'm not sure whether if they would actually remove Kaya, but Xborg is definitely one great option because we've seen Seoul performing so well in those grand final runs in the MPL and MySG.
Yeah, and that's just going to revert him back into Thamos depending on what the matchup is. But again, Evos Esports, they're going to have a couple of options coming into the first phase here. They're really thinking about this one. They could go for, again, lock out the Kufra or maybe just, you know, ban out the Kaya this time around just to ensure that they don't have something that sets up fights really well.
Now, heading in towards that first pickup here, I do believe that RRQ will definitely have a lot of all these sort of great pickups here, and it will still be the Kaya as that priority. And what do you feel like both teams have been prioritizing on this sort of pickup? Of course, we talk about Divine Judgment, but other than that, I feel Kaya, of course, if she cannot get those great pickups in these early stages, then it will be pretty tough in towards the late game when all these items will be stacked against Kaya.
Agreed. I definitely agree here. I think it's going to be high loss and maybe even arguably Cho just to kind of flex out the pick. Tough to say, but yeah, I do agree with you that she does kind of it is a little lackluster in comparison to like the strong. I wouldn't say the strongest, but I would say very versatile Cho. She is one-dimensional, goes in, locks somebody, pulls them out, that sort of thing. But again, I think it's tough to say. Ooh, instead of Cho, they're actually going for the Akai. It looks like they want to have a playmaker and a dedicated tank.
That's right, and of course, the previous game we've already seen high loss being banned away, and this time around, once it's being left open, they take any chances that they can get. So, two really solid frontliners already being secured. Now, RQ's response, what are they going to go for? I don't really think that things like Mentor will even be in the picture because how easily it could be pushed away by the Hurricane Dance. Maybe something like, I don't know, a support like Diggy would be pretty much great, but instead, they're still prioritizing on that Kimmy pickup. So RQ will still have a couple of seconds to think about, and they steal the Tamas away from Evos SG.
He's not gonna have I mean, Soul's not gonna have a lot of options to play left, and that might force him into going into Hayabusa, which isn't too great because for the first 6 minutes of the game, you're just gonna get oppressed by Thamos for the most part.
Oh yes, I would say that this is definitely gonna be a huge challenge for Evos Esports, and we're looking at Ace here, trying to close things off. Should he even go in for that marksman pickup here? Because previously we've seen that Granger pick, and it was dealing with, of course, the Kimmy as well. But Kimmy has definitely had a lot more impact. But this bottom pickup is definitely something that's pretty much piqued my interest here because that will possibly negate certain picks like Esmeralda to come into play.
Yeah. I mean, oh man, Badang is really interesting. He's in a really interesting place because he scales obnoxiously well now with his current item build. They fixed him and put him in a weird place where he kind of does a lot of things, but it's all solely dependent on how much of a lead he gets into the early game. Because again, he needs 2 items before he really pops off, and before then, his ultimate isn't going to be enough to one-shot somebody, but it's going to get real close.
That's right, the Frisk Crack will possibly deal that sort of on-hit effect as well. So that's definitely something to actually look after if they were to actually commit in towards that sort of fight. So heading in towards mid to late game, that's where Evo Singapore definitely shines. But now, going in towards the very final band here, I'm not too sure what should they actually take out from RRQ side, but they will opt to actually remove Lolita as all that sort of core tank still left available.
Yep. More importantly, setting up for the Jaguar perfectly.
Oh man, totally forgot about that as well. So Of course, it doesn't make sense for Evos to still go in for that Lolita as well. Like, they've already got so many melee pickups right there. So if they were to actually take up more ranges, definitely would be perfect. Now, RRQ's turn for that fiery final 2 picks to complete the matchup. And I don't know, the boys from Evos SG are looking a little bit more tense than usual.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's just jet lag or whether they're just like nervous to be playing so early in the day. But
pretty sure there's no jet lag though, because we play on that sort of same time zone.
I'm trying to give him an out here. I'm trying to give him an out. Oh, come on, man. Come
on,
man.
Let's cut him some slack in that sort of sense. But Baxia though, we're gonna see our very first Baxia in M1. So this is definitely gonna be pretty much exciting. Of course, there's going to be the great sort of chase coming in from Tsuru, heading all over the map. And if he does get one good catch onto its members like the Chonger, then that will be definitely something that will be a great pickup for RRQ.
Yeah, I mean, Baxia overall, that Tortoise Poissons is just a great ability. I kind of feel I'm kind of torn because it's like to me it's like a Johnson ultimate, except you have more angles to kind of engage. You can get a good back flank if you have the options, but overall I haven't been seeing Baxia perform over the moon here. It's not as good as Grok. It's not as game-changing as an Akai, and that's what really hurts me.
I will definitely agree that it's not as great as Masha, is not as great as some of all these tanks such as the Grok, but now we're seeing, of course, the Granger being brought right in. So that will complete the entirety of the lineup of Evos SG. Which one do you favor the most coming into its game 2?
Tough to say. It really is tough because there's some great options coming in from RRQ to kind of play around the composition of Evos SG here. But if I had to say, it really comes down to the supports here, because the supports are going to make a very big difference, especially with the Akai Hurricane Dance. He's going to be looking for those big engages. The Baxia as well as the Kaja, that's a tough combination to beat. I'm not going to lie. I'm leaning a little bit, just a little bit towards RRQ because they have a lot of options to get on top of the Chang'e. And it's really on Oh Dear Bambi to be in a better position in comparison to the supports from RRQ if they want to win this matchup.
From my side, I do like the side of Evos Singapore having a little bit more security hitting into its mid-game.
Agreed,
as compared to what they drafted back in Game 1. This is definitely a lot better than what we saw. At least they understand now that we need some of all these members to at least soak some damage. So they've got that crossed out on those checkbox.
Yes.
And now bringing back that Chang'e pick that they did pull out in those grand finals back in MYSG. So this is one of that sort of a pocket pick strat that they do have coming in towards M1. Well,
I mean, it was like a pocket pick strat, and then it just became meta. Now everybody is just like, all right, I'll just have Chang'e in the back of my mind, but let's go into game 2. This is between Rex Regum Geon against Evos SG Game 2.
That's right, and if you haven't got yourself the tickets to MLBB M1 World Championship, it's happening on the weekends here in Asiat Arena, so make sure you guys grab it real quick with the promo codes being provided. Now, we're starting off with a 2 versus 2 over in mid lane. Of course, top side, we're going to see a little bit of that tussle between Tuturu, Ace, as well as Potato. They're already on the prowl, already dealing quite a chunk of damage, but this shouldn't be too much of a problem for them to actually face off with. So, of course, we're seeing a little bit of Revitalize for Liam here. So, what do you feel about Revitalize on Baxia?
Great spell. Absolutely great spell. But it also allows Baxia to kind of hold on his own when he goes for an engage and the team isn't able to follow up like exactly on time here. But I think overall, it's pretty smart what both teams did right now. Especially Revitalize on the Baxia, great. But on the side of Evos Esports SG, I think what they did is really smart here, where they kind of switched up the lanes, where they said, okay, we're going to put you on the dual lane in the top side because we know for a fact that Barang can't do a great job, and it's already paying off. I mean, Revitalize, great switch on the other side of the map, and they immediately punish them on the bottom side. Great rotations from mid.
Oh, yes. We'll definitely see a great start for the side of Evos Singapore. And now Soul close to actually falling out. Flicker's being popped out instead. And now Bambi as well as JPL tries to return the favor. And this will be 2 kills in the bag. And this is just in the span of less than 2 minutes.
Yeah, oh, that was close. That was really, really close here, especially from RRQ. He got a little hungry for blood. You can definitely see it in his eyes. He wasn't able to get a range for that last auto attack, but overall, I think Evos Esports are very happy with the catch that they got. 2-0 right now. They have to keep playing the game slow, especially if you're in RRQ's position, because you do scale pretty decently when you have carry on your side.
That's right, and then we see a little bit of that hastiness coming in from the side of RRQ. I felt like if they were just to play things a little bit safer, and you're already forcing somebody to back away, they're already losing that experience. You don't really have to fully commit in that sort of sense. But now, for Turtle being challenged, but here comes the box. Face crack being pulled out as well, but Soul already negating them from entering, and that first solo goes in the hands of Evos Singapore, and Righteous Pathway has been opened up as well. But now, that's pretty much a clean disengage from Evos SG.
So nicely done. Oh dear, Bambi, great zone control here. Liam making sure he tries to make sure that no one else is able to get out here. The stun goes through, but again, doesn't really matter here. Sin's gonna back away. Soul, Quigong Fist pushes him away, but he knows he doesn't have enough damage to one-shot Sin just yet. And more importantly, he can just Phantom Step over the Fist Break.
That's right. And look at Vin. Even that sort of distance, he's getting chunked out by Chang's ult, and Liam here possibly trying to actually get a couple of all that sort of informations. Now, a couple of minutes have passed, but the next objective will still be on the top side of the river, as Ace as well as Potato has been doing such an absolute great work against the Tirurs thus far.
Yep. Oh, nicely done. Great maximum impact. Stealing away the buff. Oh, great catch. Vin pushes him through. Oh dear, Bambi's in trouble. Quickly having to pop the sprint. Meteor Shower is being put down, but JPL disengages any more follow-up with the Hurricane Dance. Oh, Zin's in trouble.
Wow.
Flicker already coming through. Soul, he tried to go for an initial all-in. Doesn't get that last hit. And Ace has to put the glorious pathway down to bail out of there. Gets a good amount of regeneration, giving away the crab, but no kills going over to RRQ.
I'm just loving the entire chess piece coming from both sides, and we see great amount of respect being shown to their opposing sides as well. So get a little bit more than he should, and he's just taking a little bit more from the jungle instead. Now, of course, Evos Esports get a little bit of that sort of a goal lead that they have here. It's about 400 gold for the time being, but it's definitely going to change in the span of a few minutes here. And Soul, I think that he's getting a lot of trap being posed upon him, as Liam is already cutting in towards the jungle looking for old year Bambi.
Yeah, and again, Liam is just being super annoying. He's gaining vision, and he's pretty much unstoppable for the most part, but he's not really engaging on anybody. He's gathering information, telling his team, oh, this is where the movements of the enemy are, this is what they're currently doing, making sure they know exactly where Evos SG is at all times.
That's right. We're seeing great movements coming across that box here. Of course, now they're trying to actually disturb some of these members of Evos Esports. Now, we're seeing, of course, Boxia being so mobile to actually rotate across the map to even support this team. And now, Turtle number 2 already being spawned. Is Evos going to be ready for this?
Oh! Ooh, locking him down. I mean, the double ultimate was a bit of an overkill, but you know, you want to make sure you secure it. Oh, Potato's in trouble. He gets caught out here, and Liam just ensures his death, cutting off his exits completely, as the rest of Evos Esports are just a second tad bit behind.
That's right, and for members on the top side here, let's have a look into it. It's a quick replay on how they managed to set this one up. And of course, we see Ace here opening up that Righteous Pathway a little bit way too late to actually join in the party as well. And this Turtle, of course, getting pulled back and forth, but no commitments whatsoever until Liam goes in crashing towards the side of JPL. Pulls him back with a Divine Judgment as well. And JPL here still managing to escape with that Frog Leap as well as Hurricane Dance all intact.
Oh, so nicely done. So nicely done. 1,000 pounder just to get the shield as well. I mean, the rest of the team is just kind of holding on their own, and now Soul's in trouble. He has to recall out of there before they collapse on it. I think he should be able to get away here. No issues whatsoever. Evos Esports controlling the top side, and despite having a two-kill lead, the gold is pretty even.
Yes, we see both sides stalling it out for a little bit more, and members of RRQ here, of course, trying to poke as much as they can, trying to force away Evos SG. In terms of itemization, we've already seen one Bloodlust Axe for the side of Tamas as we see Jiao PL already locking Sin on the wall. But here comes the follow-on coming a little bit too late though. Soul almost getting a catch, but that Meteor Shower will be able to connect, and my oh my, Odir Bambi gets one kill.
Yeah, they are going to continue forward as they push through. Vin gets an initial catch, but again, not the priority target. Good disengage. They lock him down with the law and order, but the rest of the team is going to pull back.
Oh my goodness me. It's Soul coming in with the Frizz Cracker as well. Almost here now. Jago in the back and WPL going in with the flicker. But that's a huge blunder that we're seeing here. 3 members are low, but that should not even be made possible. Of course, Evos Esports still looking for a dive, but there's no minutes going in. So this means that they can take the next best option, which will be the turtle.
Yep, great punishment. They're going to wait for the next wave. They have Badong on the side lane, but let's look at the replay here because it was looking like, oh my goodness, what is going on? And all of a sudden, Odir Bambi comes through. He gets his ultimate again and just completely cuts off the lane. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to let you walk back to your turret. I'm going to chunk you out completely with just the Meteor Shower.
Oh my, now we're seeing a little bit more action on the top side as well. Of course, even on the bottom side, we see a little bit of skirmish, and Bambi being left by himself. This is going to be having JPL to protect him for the time being, but Tsuru is going to catch that Panda out, and Hurricane Dash has been forced out. Bambi instead turns things around. Oh, he's still alive. Tsuru trying to force him all the way back, and Potato here, 1 versus 2, and will fall to the hands of I Am Jago.
Yeah, and RRQ are doing something really interesting here because not only are they putting pressure, they're forcing out mistakes out of Evos SG. They know that Odir Bambi as well, for a fact that JPL can kind of hold their own, but Ace on the other hand, he is struggling to hold the mid lane, especially when you're up against Kimi, who has more angles in the mid lane compared to the bottom side of the map.
Now, of course, I would say that Kimi here solely scaling in towards the late game here will be something that's going to be pretty much vital for the side of RRQ, because this Kimi is just going to get stronger and stronger as the game progresses. And heading in towards this minute right here, we're seeing so many of these objectives being leaning over the top side here as RRQ has absolutely great control. But then again, look at Evos here, still desperate for a catch, still trying to look for that opportunity, but Liam has been the bane of every sort of team fight that they get into.
Yeah, I mean, Liam is basically just spotting out Evos Esports wherever they are, making sure that they don't have angles, and he's more importantly cutting off rotation paths for Evos Esports. Like, they have to take such a long detour to get to another lane. They can't just beeline it to the top side of the map or beeline it to the bottom side wherever they want to, because Baxia is just like, no, I'm not going to let you.
Yep, not going to be able to actually give any sort of room for them to even pull the trigger. But speaking of pulling the trigger here, great sort of shots happening coming out from I Am Jago. And he hasn't really missed all too much of those maximum charge from the previous game all the way to now as well. Now, Evos Esports, knowing that the Lord is up, but they're not really going to be fully committing in towards getting themselves in towards danger. Jiao also trying to set up a little bit of that sort of a camp, as we see a golden staff have been purchased by the Badang.
That's a huge buy. That means he has a lot of damage in store. He just needs an opportunity to get to that backline. I think he should be able to one-shot carry here. Oh, Liam takes quite a bit of damage. Meteor Shower on the opposite side, trying to zone out the two main the two playmakers as well as the carry.
Wow. Now, I'm seeing a lot of all these turrets slowly falling off for the side of Evos SG, and they don't really seem to be responding all too well, but they are sticking as a unit over on the mid side here. And we see Ace being a really vital member to actually keep members of Evos SG well in life in those team fights. Meteor Shower has been expended, trying to take down Liam. Not really going to be having all too much of the room to actually step further in towards the jungle, as Liam will be forcing them to back away as well.
Yeah, and what used to be Evos Esports having a good lead, RQ have actually caught back up and surpassed them in gold. And this is kind of surprising because I would have expected by now Evos SG would still be in the lead, even if it's by a little bit here.
Oh, I would say that it's definitely not too high of a surprise because they managed to secure the turtles and taking even more objectives than Evos. So that means even more gold being funneled into the hands of RQ, but Ace knows what's up. The Lord has been taken down to 50%, and Evos, if they really want this Lord, they really gotta make a move. And now here comes the team fight as well, forcing it on the tour. But Liam in the middle of it all, it won't be. Rice is going to open up. PL opens up the Hurricane Dash, but will force them away. But Liam somehow is still alive. Then be forcing out the meteor shower as well. But none of these members of RQ can even be bothered about that as they take down yet another tower.
RRQ is just so smart. Like, Liam is able to tank so much with the Revitalize. He's holding back 4 members from the enemy team. And now they're going to go for another rotation. Oh, they already popped the Meteor Shower. They get the first initial kill, finally getting rid of the box. He doesn't have Revitalize to kind of power through the damage. But now the rest of Evos Esports, they've lost pretty much all their outer turrets at this point, or leaving top tier 2 still standing. But for the most part, the inhibitors are going to be the next objective, and more importantly, Lord is going to be highly contested.
And we see the carry was attempting on the Lord for a little bit in the sort of early game, but now it's going to be a little bit of that push and pull between Evos as well as RRQ. Now they're taking it pretty low. Are they actually forcing this one out? The Lord not getting up in the air. The Tur goes with it for the Chris Cack, and my goodness me, Evos are getting pummeled down, and Sin going for the chase as well. There's still all 5 members left in 10. Maximum charge over on Potato as well as JPL, almost heading out of the game. But now this is the best opportunity for RRQ to close things out.
Yep, Meteor Shower just gonna instantly pop down the Thambos, but he just wanted that inhibitor that he was willing to give his life for it. But that's not all. They forced out the Meteor Shower, so they can't protect mid either. They're losing their inhibitors 1 by 1.
I just love the macro game coming from RRQ. Look at how well they just control every single lane, and they knew what to do. They don't really care whether they have the Lord or not, but they know if they do force the fight, they will get the advantage that they are looking for. Of course, we're going to see a little bit of that sort of replay, of course, brought to you by U-Mobile.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Just the Lord fight in general, it was looking so good until they realized that their priority target, I Am Jungle, didn't get caught into that fist crack. He uses the chemical refinement, gets out of there, and just chunks out the rest of the team.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty much difficult for even Evos to actually come back into the game, only having 1 tower as well as the Lord already marching in. Bambi being forced to use the Meteor Shower to even take down the health. But RRQ, of course, still needs those minions to come right in. Now, JPL, though he is that tanky archetype, but he's still level 12. He couldn't possibly do all too much, especially when you have too many of these members in the front line with that flicker as well as Divine Judgment, pulling them back as well. That's the first kill, as well as the killing spree for Vin. But now look at the Tur go. Oh, that's a big blow. And instead of getting those kills, they want to secure the game. And game 2 will also be in the hands of RQ 2 in a row.
What a strong performance coming in from RRQ there. Like, honestly, what is there left to say? The early game was going pretty good for Evos. A couple of pickoffs here and there, and it was like, oh, that's great. This is looking good. They're coming back to form, and all of a sudden, RRQ play from behind, and that shows a lot of experience from the team on how to actually deal with Evos Esports, even when they are just slightly behind.
That's right, and I think some of these hiccups actually were caused by that sort of a team fight that they had in those objectives, such as the Turtle fight as well as that Lord fight, where we saw that was the final nail to the coffin right there for game 2, of course, but there's still chance in game 3. Now, let's have a look in towards the post-match results as we see, of course, Bambi dealing a whole lot of damage, but that was not enough to bring them that sort of game. But I Am Jago this time around will be the MVP for the matchup.
Yeah. Honestly, even though I Am Jungle is the MVP, you kind of have to give it to Liam there. He has done a lot of work for the team, and that's it's really interesting because what RRQ did differently, and you don't see in a lot of teams, especially from different regions, they played a very positional macro game. And MLBB isn't exactly the most macro of macro games. It's very linear in a lot of senses, but they showed that you can actually play that to a higher level. Great catches, great split-second decision-making that allowed the team to kind of take the objectives super easy.
Yeah, and Liam, the best part of it all is that though he was also moving across the map, when he commits into that team fight, they've made sure that he is put into great effect, stalling things out, tanking 3 members at the very least. Of course, let's have a look into some of the replays that we have. Early game,